Hey, it's David Ruddock, founder and managing director of Insane Technologies. And today I wanted to talk about a subject that came up on a call with me the other day, which was about ransomware. And the call was basically to try and understand in a real world scenario, what happens if your business has a cyber incident revolving around ransomware? It's a really good question. And because most businesses may not have experienced this yet, you're probably thinking, well, how would we react if something like this happened? The first thing I'm going to tell you is don't panic. It happens all the time. It's kind of like car accidents. They happen, right? Like no one wants to have one, but when they have them, you have a process to go through. And the same thing happens with ransomware. Most ransomware is discovered because someone has an IT problem and someone then discovers that we've been ransomware. Make sure when your IT support team are responding that they don't race to pull out the plug. If you stop it encrypting midway, you can't decrypt. Similarly, and this has happened in a number of incidents that I've responded to, sometimes messages from the ransomware group will pop up telling you about the fee you have to pay or the fact that your files are ransomed. And sometimes some IT people will rush in and think, oh no, we're being ransomwared again, and rush to turn everything off before they've actually assessed it. If you've been ransomware, don't panic. Just stop, take assessment of what's going on, and if you have cyber insurance, call your insurer. Otherwise, it's time to get an incident response team involved. I would hazard that your IT team, as amazing as they are, they don't deal with this every day. And so the likelihood that they will know the exact set of steps to get through to be able to help you is unlikely. They may be able to help you, they may actually get you through the process, but there's a whole heap of little caveats along the way that if they make a mistake, it could end up costing you your files, your business, or a lot of money. Definitely do not reach out to the ransomware group yourself. The moment you reach out to the ransomware group, it usually starts a timer. And that timer may result in either your files, if they've taken a copy of them, being leaked on the dark web, or the fee in which they're going to charge you for the decryption key increasing in price. Engage your incident response team. Let them work out what needs to happen. In the background, the best thing your IT team can be doing is to get that asset list, the one we spoke about in one of the previous videos. And if you haven't gone through that video, go through that video and understand what an asset list should look like. And they should be going and testing your disaster recovery strategy. Is it intact? Can we restore from the backups? One thing to know, and a lot of businesses will race in wanting to pay the ransom so they can get their business back up and running really quickly. The time it can take to go through the process of negotiating with a ransomware group, paying the ransom, getting the decryptor back, decrypting all your files, and then still discovering some of the systems are still corrupt and going to need to be rebuilt can be a couple of weeks. So if your disaster recovery strategy, your backup strategy can help your business recover in less than a couple of weeks, it may be the better option. Now, don't overwrite the ransomware systems or the affected systems with the backups. That's also kind of critical, because if your business stores personally identifiable information, PII, or personal health information, PHI, and you may have some obligation under the Privacy Act to notify potentially affected individuals of a data exfiltration or unauthorized access event, by restoring back over the systems that were accessed by the threat actor, you may lose all the forensic evidence. So you've got to be very careful in the way that this is staged out. Again, I'll circle back to this is where your incident response team should come in, and the incident response manager should be the one driving the different work streams and making sure that those work streams align with what the ultimate goal is of this process, which is, number one, business resumption. We want to minimize business interruption and get you back up and running as quickly as possible. But number two, if there's the potential that we may have to notify because of the types of information we store, and needing to understand whether or not there's been a unauthorized access to that information, we need to be able to do the forensics properly to be able to identify whether or not that event has occurred. And so those two streams have to run in parallel. and make sure that one doesn't overlap the other. So it's let the IRM, the incident response manager, drive the situation for you. They should be in control. They should be feeding you as a business with information that helps you make decisions. Ultimately, it is your decision one way or the other. They're the ones that are going to be able to help you get back on your feet, but also do it in a way that will result in the best possible outcome for your business. So let's talk about ransomware negotiation for a second. And this was a part of the subject that came up the other day. There are numerous firms out there who specialize in ransomware negotiation, and I would recommend that you use them. Again, usually your cyber insurer will provide you with access to them, or the incident response team, if you don't have insurance, will generally have a good relationship with some form of a ransomware negotiator. Do not try and do the negotiation yourself. Do not let your IT team try and do the negotiation yourself. There are so many little caveats that you can fall prey to that could cost you a lot of money or fail the negotiation. Even if the ransomware group says, we do not negotiate with XYZ firm, how do they know? Like, honestly, it's like you knowing which particular person you're speaking with at the ransomware group when you email them. It doesn't work that way. So don't fall for that sort of advice. Engage a ransomware negotiator. The things they want to know are, do you have a copy of the ransomware note? Can you provide sample copies of files that have been encrypted? And how much data, what the type of systems are, what the nature of the business is. Once you've provided the negotiators with some sample files, they'll also usually be able to give you a tear sheet, like an information sheet on that particular threat actor group. That tear sheet will typically provide you with the name of the threat actor group, the typical ransom amounts that threat actor may ask for, the success ratio of paying ransom and recovering files, the general timeline in how long it takes to go through negotiation and decryption, and any caveats that might happen as a byproduct of this particular threat actor. You need to get your comms right, your communication strategy right. And that includes everything from your frontline workers as to how they might respond if someone calls up and says, have you guys had a data breach? Particularly if that name of the business ends up on a dark web website. We want to know that the frontline staff know how to respond if a journalist calls up. As I said, it can take a couple of weeks between when you first had the ransomware incident to negotiation, to getting your files back and the decryptor back, before you'll be back up and running. And even some firms, we've seen them continuing to recover for months, because even after decryption, some of those systems don't work properly and they've had to rebuild or recover. There's obviously a lot of things you could do for your business to help ensure that these things don't happen, or if they do happen, it minimizes as much as possible. And if you'd like some advice on how to do that, please do reach out. Details will be over here. We'd love to have a chat with you. We believe that there are some really good low-cost and no-cost strategies that help our clients become above the low-hanging fruit that most threat actor groups will target. Obviously, as your risk profile goes up, there are better strategies that can be implemented. But what we find is that most businesses just haven't implemented the basics, and we'd like to help them do that first before they start investing lots of money in other strategies and leaving out the really simple stuff that often results in a cyber incident. So yeah, please do reach out. I hope this has been really informative. Great to see you again. I've been off on a holiday for a couple of weeks. That's why you haven't heard from me. But it's good to be back, and I will speak to you soon.